Hi, I'm Jen with PepperHarrow, and today we're going to be talking about starting dahlias from seeds. Dahlias are one of the most beautiful flowers that we grow here at PepperHarrow and one of the biggest crops that we grow here too. I'm excited to share my seed starting techniques with all of you, and I hope that you can be successful with starting dahlias from seed too. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to start with a 72 cell tray, and I already have it pre-filled with some seed starting medium. No worries if you don't know where to get these things. We'll link all of the things from today below in the box so that you know where you can source these to start your own seeds. Okay? So if you have any questions, look below. All these things will be noted below. So I have my tray filled in. The first thing I'm going to do is get it moist with a spray bottle, or if you have a garden hose, that'll work too. The key is just to make the seed starting medium nice and moist so that you can get your seeds started. Keeping your soil moist is absolutely critical for the seed starting process. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get my soil moist. I'm just going to go to each little cell and get it sprayed in. And you're going to feel when we pick up the entire tray how moist it feels. It shouldn't be too heavy and it shouldn't be too light. So when I go to pick up this tray, it's light, but it's not so light that I'm just, flipping it up in the air. It feels light, but I can feel that it has some moisture in it because there's a little bit of weight. That's what you're looking for. You don't want your cell tray to be too heavy. If it's too heavy, it means you have too much moisture. If it's too light, it means it's not moist enough. So the real key with seed starting is just to make sure you have a nice, happy balance, not too wet and not too dry, just evenly moist. Moisture is the key to great germination for your little seeds that we're going to be starting today. Okay, so now that my seed starting medium is a little bit moist, we're ready to go for our seed starting. So I have a little packet of my dahlia seeds here, and I'm going to pull them out and put them in my hand. Okay, and I'll show you what these look like. And I'm going to take the seed and pop it into a couple rows. I'm not going to do an entire 72 cell tray of my dahlia seeds. I'm only going to do just a few here, okay? So I'm going to put my seeds in each cell. I put my seeds in the cell first, and then I'm going to go back in and get them covered. Okay, I'm going to put the rest of my seeds back in here because I only wanted to do a couple rows. Okay, now that my seeds are in these two rows, before I walk away, I'm going to go ahead and do a label so that I can keep track of these. So I'm going to grab my label and write dahlias. Okay, and how I put my labels is I usually put wherever the last row I did, and if I'm going this way, my last row that I worked on with my dahlia seeds was right here. So I'm going to put my plant label in. If I had started down on this side, I would have put it here where I last ended my last row, knowing that the first row has dahlias too. If you feel more comfortable, you can put a tag in each cell. That's up to you. Okay, so now that I have my seeds in the hole, I'm going to push. Dahlia seeds are a little bit bigger, so I'm going to push them down into the soil, I don't know, about 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to push them in just a little bit. And I'm just dibbling with my fingers, pushing them into the soil. Okay, now that they're in the soil, I'm either going to take my little spray bottle and kind of water them in and make the soil collapse over the top. Or if you feel more comfortable, you can take your finger and just push the soil down around it just to give it a little cover and make sure it has nice contact. So I'm going to use my finger and I'm just going to go cover up all my seeds. But certainly if you just use your spray bottle or a little garden hose, that works too, to water them in. It'll make the soil collapse around that seed. Okay, again, we're just going to make sure that it stays nice and moist, that it doesn't dry out. And keep your temperature around 70 degrees Fahrenheit. You're going to have great success with doing your seed starting. To keep track of the temperature, we use a little thermometer here. It's a digital thermometer. Again, we'll put the link in the box below if you want to keep track of it using a thermometer. You can keep track of it that way, but 70 degrees is usually the most successful temperature to get your dahlia seeds to germinate. And I don't know why it's like that with most seeds. 70 degrees seems to be kind of the magic temperature germination occurs. Sometimes my little space here gets down to 65. If that's the case, it's okay. 65 to 75, right in that range. It's all good. Don't freak out if it varies a little bit above or below that, but I really think 70 degrees is the sweet spot to get these started. I like to start my dahlia seeds about 4 to 5 weeks before my last frost date. So keep that in mind and kind of measure to that to start your own dahlia seeds. I do let my seedlings grow for about 4 to 5 weeks before I start the hardening off process. The hardening off process is taking your little seedlings from an indoor space like this to the outside. And you do that by gradually acclimating your little baby seedlings to the outside growing conditions. So I'll start by taking out my little seedling trays about 1 hour each day, increasing as I go day after day. There's a couple stipulations you want to make sure that you don't do. You don't want to expose your seedlings to too much wind nor too much direct sun. So I try to bring my seedlings out to a partially shaded area on a day that's not too windy. A little bit hard to find that, especially as you're talking about transitioning your seedlings out in late spring, early summer, but find a day that's not too windy to bring them out to get them acclimated. Once your seedlings are hardened off, you're good to go to plant them. Get them in the ground, and the special thing about dahlia seeds is your seedlings will end up producing a dahlia tuber. So if you want, you can dig them up after your season has ended, especially if you're in a cold climate like me here in central Iowa, zone 5B, and store them through the winter. We like to plant our dahlias in a full sun location. They can withstand some part shade, but typically dahlias do best in direct full sun. We love to plant our dahlia seedlings about 9 to 12 inches apart, depending. Typically, we like to plant them closer together rather than farther together, but it's up to you. And then dahlias also benefit from a bit of staking. So if you have a stake to tie your dahlia plant to, we highly recommend that. And we also like to give them a little bit of a pinch when they're about 6 inches tall to promote branching and to make sure they're nice and strong. Dahlias typically take between 3 to 5 days to germinate, and you'll start to see your little seedlings come up through the seed starting medium. It's so incredible. I love seeing new baby seedlings pop up through that seed starting medium. It feels like success. A lot of people are intimidated about starting dahlias from seed, but don't be intimidated. It's actually not that hard. I think people tend to overcomplicate things a little bit, but there is no stress. It's not that hard. The trickiest part, I think, is maintaining the temperature and maintaining your moisture effectively. As long as they're not too wet and not too dry, again, you're going to have great success. I hope this all helps you get a little bit more of an idea about how to start dahlias from seed, and I hope you have great success. If y'all enjoyed today's video, please subscribe and leave a comment below. And as always, thanks for joining and happy growing.